Hey, welcome to day 59, and today we have another album review, and we have Linkin Park's The Hunting Party, which is the one that they released before One More Light, the one that everyone hates. And ironically, this is basically like the polar opposite when it comes to the type of sound, because while One More Light is way more poppier, this one is definitely way heavier. I would say from every song that I've heard from Linkin Park, I gotta say that these albums were like the heaviest out of them all. Even including like Every Theory and Meteora, I think this album is actually heavier than those. Unfortunately for Linkin Park, I think that's actually a bad thing, and here's why. Look, for the most part, first of all, I listen to this on YouTube. I listen to all of my music on YouTube. I don't know why, but this album on YouTube at least has really rough production. Like, it sounds really bad. I don't know what it is about it, and I don't know, like, it might just be me, but at the same time, like, I know that when I heard other albums on YouTube, because I listened to all of the albums on YouTube, they have not sounded this badly. Like, these albums sounds really bad, especially when stuff gets really busy, which is actually really often because this album is very, heavy. There's a lot of instruments going on, there's a lot of sounds going on all the time, so it sounds really rough. And the worst part is that a lot of the production sounds like you have these pop rock from like the 2010s type production, especially the early 2010s, the Imagine Dragons type production. But then it's like the album is all about sort of these constant, like 90s metal punk type style. It's very heavy, and it feels like that, at least. Overall, the album just seems very unfocused, right? And when you grab all of that, then the quality of the mix just doesn't really do well, I would say. It sounds really bad. I don't know, like, I was listening to it, and all of the times quality was getting lossy all the time, which I don't think it's a good sign. Now, again, that might be a YouTube thing, that might be a me thing, I don't know, but again, like, I've heard other albums on YouTube. I never had this problem before, or well, when I did, it was because of the albums themselves, not because of me or anything like that. So I'm just gonna say that, yeah, the album quality is definitely way lower than One More Light. Like, One More Light, a lot of people can dislike it, they can say a lot of things about it being popular or whatever, but the production was definitely much better. And again, I think it's because the album is just so busy. Like, you have no idea. In this album, yesterday I reviewed The Unraveling by Rise Against, and essentially it was a punk album, so it was in your face, all instruments all the time, high octane. This album felt pretty much the same, and quite frankly, it just didn't work for them. Like, this is not... I understand the idea that people have, when it comes to especially Linkin Park, where it's like, there was a lot of criticism, and it was the same criticism levied against One More Light, which is, Linkin Park is all about the heavy songs and everything. I disagree. To me, Linkin Park is about the melodies, it's about the chorus, it's about how catchy the songs are, because goddamn, the songs being heavy did not help the album whatsoever, especially because, again, it seemed that the songs had a bigger focus on being heavy rather than just being good. Out of the entire album, there's two songs that I actually enjoyed, and that was Until It's Gone and Final Masquerade, and those are the more Linkin Park songs. In the entire album, these are the more, I guess, poppy songs, right? They're the songs that are the most approachable. I guess you have Drawbar, which is, not that heavy or whatever, right? But they are by far the, least heavy songs in the entire album, and they're the best, and I think that's what Linkin Park does really well. As much as people want to, like, point out or whatever, Linkin Park is really good at, sure, their songs can be heavy, but a lot of their focus is in marrying the heaviness with a lot of the melody, the catchiness, right? The dynamic that they have in the songs. Not in the songs just being heavy. I think everyone, when they sort of, I mean, not everyone, but a lot of people and a lot of fans, especially from the Every Theory, Meteora days, tend to equate Linkin Park with being heavy. That's when Linkin Park are good. When in reality, no, like, that's not when they're good. When they're good is when they're making their signature sound, when they're using the heaviness as a tool for creating tension, as a tool to express very raw emotions, not necessarily for the sake of being heavy. So much so that even in Every Theory, even in Meteora, you have a lot of songs that aren't necessarily heavy. They're not heavy instruments, they're not, this style of always in your face all the time. time, because that's not Linkin Park. That's not what Linkin Park is about, and that's not how they sound good. So in that regard, I gotta say I disagree with most fans, and I think that this album, The Hunting Party, is the perfect example as to what happens when especially the early Linkin Park fans say, "Hey, Linkin Park is good when they're heavy." No, this is the heaviest album that I've heard from Linkin Park, even when including the original things, and I gotta say, it's honestly the worst one. And it's because of the heaviness. I think that in a lot of these songs, if they had taken a step back, if they had toned down things more, it would have been better. Again, like Until It's Gone, Fire and Masquerade, best songs in the album. Are they heavy? Sure, but they're not as heavy as the rest of the album, and that's good because the song has space to breathe. A lot of these, especially because what matters when it comes to Linkin Park, and what really grabbed a lot of people to like the songs and like the albums, is the emotional punch that they give you, right? And for that emotional punch, you need to be heavy and sort of make sure that that punch lands with impact, but at the same time, you need to create space for that punch to start going, right? The way you generate force is by generating speed. The problem with Linkin Park being heavy all the time, which is exemplified by this album, is that you don't gather speed. It just, you have like a huge fist, but there's no speed to generate a force, right? Which is what they did so well in the first few albums, and even later albums like Minutes to Midnight or A Thousand Suns. What they do really well is create space for the songs, right? To create that speed, to then when the heavy part hits, it's with so much more strength, right? And this album just does not give songs the time to sort of grow. It doesn't give songs the time to, especially, like again, the catchiness to grow. Linkin Park does this a lot, where the songs sort of grow along the song until the chorus hits, right? Which is really nice. It creates this nice impact. Even in later albums, they did that. But here it's like he doesn't have the space to do that, and some of the songs definitely do have that potential. Songs like Rebellion, for example, which is actually featuring the guitarist from System of a Down, which is also why I found that to, maybe sound a little bit like System of a Down. But that song, which ironically sounds more like a System of a Down song than it sounds like a Linkin Park song, that song to me, if it had been given the time to breathe and everything, I think it would have been a much better song, right? It just needs that. That's essentially what this album needs. Another thing that I actually heavily dislike about this album, and I understand why they did it, and I think that this is what made Linkin Park so big to begin with, but are the promotional songs. A lot of the songs there are features. That's not my problem. I mean, actually, that is my problem. Linkin Park usually didn't have features, right? And that's good, because it was just them. This album has a lot of features, like a lot of features, right? You have one with Darren Malakian, the guy from System of a Down, right? You have one with Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine, and I think there's a couple of other features. Yeah, Rakim, Paige Hamilton. There's so many features, and then there's one song which is Linkin Park X UFC called Wastelands, which is just footage of UFC fights, and I'm sitting there like, wait, I'm listening to Linkin Park. I don't give a fuck about UFC. Like, what the hell, right? And even then, like, Guilty All the Same, for example. It's for a game called Project Spark, which is, I mean, it's not a game. It was like this engine, sort of like Dreams, where you could like create your own mini games and stuff like that, right? Okay, really cool. I understand that, but the fuck is that to even doing here? Like, this entire thing is called The Hunting Party, and a lot of the songs make allusions to, well, an hunting party, right? You have a song called War, for example, Until It's Gone, Rebellion, you know what I mean? Like, it's about war and conflict, basically, right? And then you just have songs about, like, promoting a fucking, like, engine game making thing. It's very bizarre, right? And then you have UFC, which is, like, I understand that the album sort of has a theme of, like, conflict, but I wouldn't call UFC conflict. UFC is just like combat sports. It's whatever. You know what I mean? It's just, I think it takes away from the actual theme that they try to establish to begin with, right? Which then just impacts the rest of the album. I mean, the songs aren't already the highest quality. But I understand, like, okay, you want to make an album about conflict, so you make it very heavy. I get that. The songs are already not very good to begin with because of the sound and the quality of the sound. And then you have a lot of these promotional songs. Yeah, it's just not the best. I mean, they made one, for example, with Steve Aoki. Not a good song, right? I don't know. Like, I think Linkin Park, there's a lot of promotional songs, and that's why they've gotten so big to begin with. But honestly, it's one of the aspects that I least enjoy about. I mean, I don't even enjoy. I just dislike Linkin Park on that regard. So yeah, overall, I don't know. I don't have much to say about this album because again, it's a bit of a disappointment. It feels like the only good thing I'll say about this album is this. You can really understand why people like Chester a lot, because even in an album like this, his voice is amazing. But even then, again, I think Chester's voice was much better when, yes, sure, you have those big moments where he goes all out, right, where he has huge impact, right? But at the same time, you have time to breathe, you have time to build that up. There are songs like Breaking the Habit, songs like Given Up, right? These songs have big, huge moments where, I mean, Given Up is even known for having like a 17, 18 second scream or something like that. Huge, like it's you know, this massive thing, right? So, you know, those songs don't really like the theatrics, I would say, but that's the thing, you are given the time to slowly build them up, right, before the chorus hits, and then when the chorus hits is when you go all out, right? So even Chester, even someone that had his voice and had his talent, even him can benefit from when Linkin Park just take time to build up the song and then hit you in the chorus, right? I understand, like, it can get old or whatever and can make all of the songs sound the same, but in a way that's kind of like what I expect from Linkin Park to begin with. Like, I know that they can make diverse songs even though they make them in their own style. That's your style. I don't think it's like there's anything wrong with trying to make anything new, but again, like, okay, take 1,000 Suns. I have not made a review on 1,000 Suns, and I will make a review on 1,000 Suns. 1,000 Suns was something different. They wanted to try something different. They wanted to make a thematic album, a concept album, right? Very cool, whatever. It's so good, right? It's such a good album. Again, I need to review it, but it's such a good album, right? So I'm not necessarily against them trying to do something new or something. Even then, I have already reviewed One More Light. You know, it's an album that a lot of people fucking despise when it comes to Linkin Park, right? And I'm gonna be honest, it wasn't my favorite, but at least I understand where they were coming from. I appreciate them trying to do something different. Here, it feels like they just grabbed the parts of, you know, that the fans kind of wanted to hear mostly, but didn't exactly enjoy making. So as a result, a lot of these songs just don't sound very good, and then you have a lot of promotional songs which take away from the entire theme and everything. I don't know, like, to me, just, it wasn't very good. And again, like, my favorite songs, Final Masquerade and Until It's Gone, those songs to me feel like songs from their previous albums, not from this one, right? Which I think just goes to show how, you know, disconnected a lot of the album actually is, and non-focused a lot of the album actually is. But yeah, as far as my vibe meter goes, my vibe meter is giving me like a fucking 4 out of 10, you know. I know it's a Linkin Park album, whatever, but it's a 4 out of 10, right? So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll see you tomorrow.